In motion is Sewell. Goff to throw. Wants to throw it to Sewell. He caught it. Boy, Sewell with a first down. Oh, yes. The big man dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful.
Welcome to the 20 in the Huddle podcast presented by Microsoft, and I am really happy to welcome in Lions General Manager Brad Holmes as we kind of put a bow on the 2023 NFL Draft. And Brad, before we start, I just have to make sure we're going to start talking about these prospects. I know you get a little bit excited. I'm far enough away, right?
You got enough distance.
I got enough distance. I saw what you did to Brad.
Well, usually the table gets it first, so Tim, I think
I mean, that elbow would put me right down on the floor, I think, Brad. But no, look, I love that about it. I mean, you do 9 months of work, right?
Yeah.
And this is what you do. You have a passion for it. And then when it finally gets to that day and you get your guy, all the work, I love the excitement. You love this process, don't you?
That's what it's all about. I mean, it's not fake. It's genuine. It's authentic. And I don't know any other way that we can express that we got the player that we truly love. And I've always said that that's what we're going to do. Regardless of what anybody else says or anything, we're going to get the players that we love. And if we love a player, it's not like we love a lot of players, but if we love a player, that means that we love them for like a lot of different reasons. And it means that guy fits our culture, that guy fits kind of what our football team wants to look like, and he fits the intangibles, he fits the physical traits, he fits everything. And so when we get a chance to acquire those players, it's an uncontrollable emotion, and we're just extremely happy.
Well, let's talk about Jahmyr Gibbs a little bit. You're at 6, you move back to 12, still get your guy. I know you said after the draft he was the top guy on your board at that spot. When you look at him, Brad, I mean, explosiveness, that's the word that just comes out. And it's not just Jared turn around and hand the ball off to him too. It's, catching the football. He's very fluid. I mean, he played a lot of different spots. Just how dynamic can he be in Ben's offense?
Yeah, I mean, I think the sky's the limit, especially with, having David Montgomery and then, being able to pair David up with a weapon like him. And I probably shouldn't brought up David because David's a running back and this guy is and David can do a lot of stuff in the passing game as well, 100%. Which was a lot of the intrigue when we were able to sign him in free agency. But to pair this guy up with him, I think it's going to make our offense even more scary, even more explosive. And, a lot of people tab running back to his name, but he's a weapon. That's what he is. He's a multi-phase, explosive, elite weapon that can do a lot of different things. He's a home run hitter in the run game, but he is elite in the passing game, and even as a kickoff returner, I mean, he can just do so many things. He's going to bring a lot of value.
Who do you think wins a race if him and J-Mo line up 40-yard dash? It'd be curious to see who wins that race. But I mean, that's when you add that kind of speed and dynamic ability to your offense, and you have two guys like that now. I mean, it just opens up everything for everyone, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the sky's the limit in terms of and we want explosive football players, but also the other thing is that even with Jahmyr and say with James, like these guys are smart football players. Like, the thing with Jahmyr is, you can say, oh, well, he can run routes, he can catch the ball, and he can line in the backfield. You got to be smart to do that. And the mere fact that, not only does he have all those intangibles that we look for, but it's this football intelligence that really what stands up to allow him to be such a weapon.
Your second first-round pick, Iowa linebacker Jack Campbell. He seems like a Dan Campbell guy to me. I mean, I had him on the podcast afterward. It was funny. I read the comments, and it was like, oh, my gosh, that's Dan Campbell Jr. And they just went right down the line with it. But, I mean, again, like smart, right? All about ball. Yeah. Tough, physical, all the things that you and Dan always talk about wanting to acquire those guys. I mean, that's Jack, right?
Yeah, I mean, he is one of those rare guys that, has all the traits and attributes that we look for as a football player, just being smart, being passionate, instinctive, relentless, explosive. That's the thing. When I think I said it right after the draft, the first time I looked at Jack Campbell in the fall, I was like, okay, I've seen another big linebacker, tackle to tackle. I've seen more I'm looking, I'm like, wait. No, he's got some range. And it's like, I haven't seen a guy that big being able to stop, start on a dime, change directions, can bend, can operate in space and coverage. And then all those other things that he brings in terms of being a heavy guy downhill, having the power, having the strike on offensive linemen, being an excellent finisher on the ball as a tackler, and just everything that he brings from a tangible standpoint. It just made too much sense. And he's just another guy that, he was the best guy for us, and we were ecstatic to be able to land him.
No, to your point there, I think the 3-cone in the shuttle were tops among every linebacker in the combine, and that's a guy who's 6'4.5", 250 pounds. So
Absolutely.
To your point, those are really about the burst, the stop, start, and so he could be a big part in the passing game too.
Yes,
right?
yes. I always say, he has the movement skills to cover a lot of space in zone and in coverage and get to spots. But what really stood out, and from a coverage aspect, is some guys, when that ball's in the air, they can panic sometimes. They're not used to playing the ball in the air. And it seems like Jack Campbell's, his heart rate was almost down in his shoes when that ball was in the air, because he's just effortlessly played the ball. And then when he got the ball in his hand, he would just switch hands and act like he was a running back. And I asked him, I was like, did you play another position?
He has a tight end in his high school?
And he was like, no, I've just been a linebacker.
Really?
And that was another component of man, this guy's just a different kind of football player. And he's already so long and so hard to throw over in general. But then you add that on top of just his instincts and his ball skills and, being where he's supposed to be. And so we're definitely going to get a truly effective 3-down player.
And him and Alex together, bringing that size downhill. Alex was really good in the pass game, especially in the second half of last season. So, just another area in which you guys are now a better football team defensively. Brad, I loved what you said after the first round when all this talk about position value and all that stuff was there, that look, we didn't draft a running back. We drafted a dynamic, explosive weapon, as you called him. We didn't draft an inside stacked linebacker. We drafted a guy who could be an anchor on defense. Is the next shirt Brad Holmes doesn't care about your mock draft? Is that the one that needs to come there? Because I thought it was a great point, right? You're trusting your board. Yep. You're drafting guys that fit you. And position values for the mocks and everything else. Yep. You're trying to build a football team with guys that can make immediate impact, and those two guys can do that, can't they?
Yeah, look, this is the bottom line. If there was a player at 6, or when we trade back to 12, if there was a player at 12 that we thought could impact our football team more and better, then we would have picked that player. If there was a player at 18 that we thought could impact our football team better, then we'd have picked that player. But no, we picked those two guys because those two guys were the guys for us. And I get it. I get it from a mock draft standpoint. And it's hard. I feel bad for our fans. Not feel bad, but I guess I'll say I understand it, because our fans and the public, they can only go off the information that's available to them. Mm-hmm. That's all they can go off of. And so when you're seeing a set of information repeatedly over time, all the time, and that's all that's available to them, that's what you're going to believe. And that's what you're going to utilize. And that's what you can't go off of anything else.
They don't have any more information.
You don't have anything else to go off of. And so us having all the information and us, like you said, been grinding on it for 9 months, it's like, trust, we're doing the best thing for the football team. And so, and it's not a disrespect, but even the people putting together the mock drafts, they don't have all the information. Right. And so I always say, whenever you put cognitive strain into a project, i.e. a mock draft, or even for a couple of months, when that result doesn't come out like how you want it to come out, your brain doesn't like that.
You feel upset.
Yeah,
almost, right?
You're mad. And then compound on top of that, now in a couple of days, now you got to put a grade. So now your brain doesn't like it, and now you got to put a grade.
Don't get me on the grades. That's the worst thing.
That's probably worse than anything.
Guys who grade the draft before a guy steps on a field in a scheme, I've never understood it. Look, it's popular, right? It's just like the mock drafts. It's almost a demon of its own success, you know. But I love that you use the word trust there, Brad, because I think you've earned the trust of fans over the last 2 drafts that you've had. So I'm glad you said it. Let's skip into day 2. You get another Iowa kid, Sam LaPorta. Now, this was a really good tight end class.
Really
maybe
good.
one of the best in like a decade. Maybe.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot of guys here. What was it about Sam that maybe fits you guys the best?
Yeah, again, it was a great class. And I thought what I liked about this class is that they're all different flavors. Like, they were all different flavors. None of them were the same guys. And so Sam's flavor fit us the best. And so that's what intrigued us about him. Again, he's got the intelligence. He's got the passion. He's got the football smarts. He's got the toughness. He has all those intangible qualities, the work ethic, all of that. But him as a player, those things that he can do from a versatility standpoint was really intriguing. Again, another guy. I didn't really know much about Sam until I watched the film this fall. Some of those other guys you heard about in the past. And then you see Sam, and again, I'm thinking, okay, I look at him like, okay, I've seen one of these guys before. And then you start seeing him operate from the slot and being a mismatch man-to-man. You start seeing him operate out wide and winning slants and winning go routes versus DBs and being able to find voids in the zone. And then his ball skills and his rack and his ability to finish. I mean, when he gets that ball in his hands, he just turns into kind of a different player.
He's violent.
And you see the violent finish. He's gritty. We look for gritty football players, but he has the hips. He has the change of direction. He has the quickness. He has all those things that, he was playing Wildcat quarterback in the bowl game. Again, he's playing in the bowl game.
Yeah.
Like that, you don't see that. Top prospects are coming out in the draft. Often those guys are opting out of those games. Yes, he's playing in that game. Jack Campbell's playing in the bowl game. Jahmyr Gibbs is playing in those things alone just tell you a little bit more about the type of players that these guys are. But we're really excited about Sam. He's going to be able to do a lot of different things and expect a pretty early impact.
It's got to be fun for that position too, because you guys traded away T.J. Hawkinson last year, but you still set a franchise record with 12 touchdowns from the tight end position. So Ben is very creative in the way he gets guys the football, and some of the you look what Wright did and show his athleticism against the Jets. You got James Mitchell is a guy I think
coming into his second year.
Yeah, and now that's when guys get over that knee injury, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's still dealing with that. So you've got to like where that room is setting up, and then what Ben was able to do with it. That's really going to be a weapon as a position group, don't you think?
Yeah, and I like that all of them have a balance in them. Brock, he's not just a blocker. Yes, Brock Wright can block and he's big, but you saw that speed that Brock Wright showed up there in New York when when the game was on the line. So he's got good straight line speed. He's got good hands. James, he's another guy. Yeah, he can do a lot of the athletic movement stuff, but he'll go in line and get dirty, and Sam will do the same thing. So I'm really excited about that group overall.
Brian Branch, you get in the second round. Probably maybe a little bit of surprise to some people that he was there. I mean, Brad, freshmen don't start at Alabama that often. Not with Nick Saban. You've got to be a special kind of cat to be able to start as a freshman, especially at safety.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the general of the defense.
Yep.
And I know he played a lot of nickel. That's where he primary was. He's kind of just a DB, a guy that you can kind of put anywhere, a weapon, again, on defense, maybe a matchup guy. What'd you like about Branch? Where you see him kind of fitting in?
Yeah, not only just the versatility, but, him going from safety, but playing nickel, I would say, that what they call the star position in Nick Saban's defense, playing that nickel, that position is not handed out easily. That position, it involves a lot of trust to be earned to play that position, because you got to do a lot of different things. I mean, you have to be able to cover in both phases. You have to be able to play zone. You have to know where your help is. You got to cover man to man. You got to fill in the run support. You have to tackle, and he's one of the better tacklers that I saw on film all year, especially when you talk about a DB. So again, he's a guy that plays football like how we like to play, and especially on defense. And again, he's another guy, really no pressure on him.
Right.
He doesn't have to come in and be the guy right now, but as he's learning, as he's developing, he's going to be really good on special teams as well. So he's another guy that, you're right, like I didn't think he was going going to be there when we got him, but when things started looking realistic, I said, I'm not sitting there waiting to see if he's going to fall to us.
To your point, 90 tackles, 14 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 interceptions, 7 passes defended. A guy that did it all for Alabama.
Yeah.
So a great get on day 2. Let's go to Hendon Hooker, 3rd round, 67% completion percentage his entire career, 80 touchdowns. Ran a little bit different of an offense.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of that really high tempo, wide receiver options. You kind of knew where you were going. Just how do you think he fits into the NFL, into your scheme? Obviously coming off the knee injury, so he's got some time to kind of learn the playbook and take it all in. But what did you like about Hendon? Why do you think he's a good fit?
Yeah, so I saw Hendon when they played Florida, and I want to say we were playing up in Minnesota at the time. So went out there, and I'll never forget, that was the fastest tempo offense that I think I've ever seen in my life. I'm serious. And like you hear that all the time, spread offense, they go fast, This, like, honestly, you drop your head and take a note. Like, good luck. Like, you've already missed something. And, but a lot of it was, that offense in general, but it was how fast he was playing. And the fact that he would, take off and scramble and finish a run, deliver punishment in a violent way, get up, and then sprint back to the line, make sure that he gets that signal, and then make a big-time play in the air. I mean, how fast he was playing was just impressive. And I was like, this guy is a football player now. And it's those little things that, you can't always see on tape. So even, like pregame warm-ups, like his pregame ritual, he's all business. He's all business. You saw the big arm, but you knew he was there to win a football game. And so that really stood out to me. When he makes those big plays with his legs and through the air, he comes out to the sideline. He didn't even go back to the bench. He's literally standing, waiting to see the extra point go through, and he walks out and he's congratulating everybody on the extra point team. And it's those little things that I'm like, okay, this guy's different. And so, he does have all the physical traits. He's got the size. He's got the arm. He's got a big arm. He throws a beautiful deep ball. I think that'll bode well for, a guy that when we want to go explosive. But I just love that the situation he's in, he can get healthy. He can learn behind Jared and Nate and kind of see how they operate. And so I think it's a great situation. We'll just see how far he goes.
I ran into him at the Senior Bowl, and I asked him about, joining a team with an established starter. Would that be something you'd be down for? He said, I love it. Yeah. I would love it. I'd be a sponge. I want to learn from that, become a better football player. People knock Brad, him being 25, but I look at that as being a guy who's really mature. Yeah. Right? Yes. He's played a lot of football. Absolutely. 40-some plus starts, 2 different systems. And that backup quarterback job, obviously you got to be ready to step in and play. But no doubt. Your number one job is to support the starter too. No doubt. Right? Make him better throughout the week. What better than a 25-year-old experienced quarterback who's seen a lot? I think that can help Jared too. And that's all part of the package, right?
I totally agree with you, Tim. It's different when you're saying, all right, he's a 25-year-old wide receiver, or he's a 25-year-old cornerback, or no, he's a 25-year-old quarterback. And so that's different. That, like you said, there's a level of maturity. There's a level of things that he's gone through just in his football career that's going to bode well for success for him.
All right, let's go to day 3. No, I'm sorry. You move back in. Give up a 4th and 5th round. Quite a bit of capital. Yeah. So, this is a guy in Brodric Martin that you obviously really liked. And I think when you look at him, big body, right? 330 pounds, a guy that can be in the center of that defense. You guys were much better the second half of the year against the run, minus the Carolina game, obviously. Right. But is ranked 29th in that department. Is he a guy you think that can come in and I know he's got to come in and build his strength, get some technique work in, and do all that kind of stuff with your new defensive line coach? But is he a guy you think that can help you, especially in that department, the run stuff in part, pretty early on?
Yeah, 100%. And he's another guy that there's no pressure. He doesn't need to be rushed. He doesn't need to be the guy like right now. But me and Dan, we weren't excited about just what Brodric is now. We were excited about what Brodric can become. Mm-hmm. And when you get a guy that, now you talk about premium position or positional value, that's been the topic of everything about the draft. When you find a guy that's 6'4.5", almost 36-inch arms, he has rare length and size, and you've seen other guys with that size, with that power and strength that he has. You've seen guys like that, but the way how hard he plays, he chases the ball, he finds the football, he can finish in his gap, he can two gap, but he just again plays the game how we want to play. And with John Scott, who has who's had a high reputation of developing these guys in the college ranks, to get a young guy like Brodric and every kind of, let's call it wart or thing that he needs to be developed, they're all fixable, they're all correctable, and so that's what got me and Dan excited about.
He joins
Brodric.
a good room there too with Bugs,
absolutely,
and Aleem and some of the other guys there. Just knowing Bugs will take a guy like that under his wings, and he's in good hands in that room. All right, let's move to day three. And day three, I'm just curious, when you look at day three, obviously guys have flaws here and there. Mm-hmm. They would have been in the first 3 rounds, right? So I mean, when you go into day three, is it traits? Is it scheme fit? Is it just feel? I guess kind of how do you decide guys that are fits, because they always obviously have something that they can get better at with their game. I guess just what's the strategy going into day three? What's the big thing? Because you look at some of the success you've had with Amon-Ra St. Brown, Malcolm Rodriguez, James Houston. I mean, you've had real success there. What's the goal going into day three?
You know what? Especially when you get back into the 5th, 6th round, and especially in this draft, drafts in the past, you'll get into day three and there might be an Amon-Ra St. Brown. There might be a Derek Barnes still there. There might be, but we didn't even have a 4th rounder. But I didn't think it was this kind of draft. Mm-hmm. But really, you want to look for depth, and quality depth that you think can soon be some kind of starter down the road, or if not a spot starter, or depending on the position, quality depth that can play special teams early on. So that's kind of what you're looking for. So trying to getting Colby down there in the 5th round, he was a guy that we thought was a multi-positional swing depth guy, and we'll see how much he can develop and how far he can go, but played right tackle at William & Mary and did very, very well, and then goes to the All-Star game and plays guard and actually did some center stuff as well. So we're looking at a guy that potentially could be a 3-position phase guy that, center flex, guard flex, right tackle flex, but again, all the flex and all that stuff, it doesn't matter. It's about how he plays the game and about his intangibles. And he has elite football character, his work ethic, his passion for football, his intelligence, but he plays like how we want to play on the offensive line. He comes off the football, he strains, he grinds, he works to finish. He's very instinctive. He takes very high quality angles off the football. So all those things of like how we want to play from an offensive line standpoint, we thought Colby fits that.
Talk about joining a good room too.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of talent in that room. I mean, you're going to develop rather quickly, or you're going to get left behind in that room. And to your point too about the depth too. I mean, you guys run that swing tackle just about more than anybody in the league. That the extra offensive lineman, and so maybe potential there for him to see the field kind of early as a versatile kind of swing piece there. Let's go to the 7th round, and you got Antoine Green. The thing that jumped out with Green to me is 19.0 yards per reception. I mean, that's throughout his entire career. I mean, that's a vertical guy, 6'2", 200 pounds, 4.47. So the physical traits are there. And then you look at some of the stuff he did down the field. What'd you like about Green?
Look, true story. We were watching. I was watching. During the fall, I was watching their slot receiver Downs, and as I'm watching them, I just see this big guy on the outside just keep taking these explosives up, and I run down and I tell Ray Agnew, our assistant GM, like, Ray, I know we're looking at Downs, and he's a good player, but who's this other guy? Like, and so then that's when we started talking about him more. But he's another guy that he's got some development to do, but just an intriguing outside vertical stretcher, and he's not a one trick pony either. He's going to be able to do the stuff inside. He can run the digs, he can run the slants. He will finish. He'll catch contested. So all those things kind of bode well for his development, his hopefully future success. But in the meantime, again, you go into day 3. Who can provide special teams play, and so we see him as a guy with his size and his speed. I think he'll be able to match up in a lot of different positions, special teams wise.
Is that what you like going to some of those college games? Because you could go with an idea of I'm gonna watch him downs in this case, and then
get those surprises.
You get some surprises. Is that the fun part about actually going to the games?
It is.
How many times does that happen?
It happens not only in the games, Tim. It happens, it happens in the games. It also happens watching tape too. Like you're watching a certain guy and it's like, wait, hold on, who's this other guy? I mean, another true story. I remember, with Malcolm Rodriguez, last year, Oklahoma State had another linebacker, and I was watching him, and then I just see this 20 just keep showing up. I'm like, wait, hold on, this guy keeps popping
Film
up.
department?
And then you just start, you turn your focus onto him, and you're like, well, this guy's a good football player.
Overall impressions of the class, to me, you got a lot of guys that can, I think, play or have a potential to play pretty early. Some impact guys. I guess when you look at the totality of the class, when you look at it as a whole, what's the one thing you like? What's your overall impression of this group?
That we just got our guys, and we just stuck with our conviction. We didn't get deterred by any other outside noise or anything like that. And for the most part, us taking our guys, that's bode well for us in terms of when you look at the totality of the young guys that have played early first and played well. So we feel really good about that. But I think that we got the type of players that we're looking for in terms of, man, they're smart, they're passionate, they're instinctive, they're relentless, they're explosive, and they have high football character. And so those are the type of guys that we look for. And so you just, in totality, that's what you're happy about. How early these guys impact. Some of these guys we expect earlier impact than others, just being realistic. But you just never know where this thing's going to go.
The draft isn't over at round 7, though.
No.
I know we can't talk specifics, so some of these guys, have to get in here, get signed and stuff like that. But that process is an important one, too.
Absolutely.
I mean, because you see some of the guys that have impacted this football team over the years from the undrafted category. That's an important part of the process, too, isn't it, Brad?
That's a huge part of the process, because at the end of the day, depending on who you get and, who was left and who didn't get drafted, those are extra draft picks. So, without getting into specifics of names, I want to say that we ended up getting 3 guys that were on our draft board at one point that we were able to get in as undrafted free agents. So we're really excited about that.
Look at you. You're leaving them guessing, huh?
Yeah.
Ray, John Dorsey, Diz, your whole team, just speak to the job everybody did, because it's not just you. I mean, it's a group effort, and this goes back 9 months. It's the area scouts. It's all the time away from their family, hotel rooms, everything. You know it. You were in that grind too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just the whole team. You love how what you've assembled now in year 3. It seems like it's a pretty smooth operation, and you've got your system in place.
Yeah, I was telling our group after the draft that everybody has a specific ownership that they know that they have to dominate, and each one of those guys did a fantastic job just kind of dominating their ownership. And so, but like you said, it starts with our scouts. They're the engine of this whole thing. And without them, it just doesn't work. I do believe that we have a well-oiled machine from a personnel department standpoint, but they are the oil.
Yeah.
And so without them, all this stuff is not possible. But everybody else is, Ray Agnew and Dorsey, Lance Newmark, Mike Martin, Don Corzine, Mike Disner, Brandon Sosner. Like, it's a total group effort all the time. And that starts from the very top. That's something that Sheila preaches, and she's preached from the very start with, Dan and myself, is collaboration. So So it's always going to be a collaborative effort, and that's bode well for us so far.
I know everybody's looking forward to rookie minicamp, getting these guys here, getting football helmets on, seeing them run around, and then they join the vets and OTAs, and then it starts to get real.
Yeah.
Football's here.
The
draft is over. It's a fun time. You've now kind of built this football team, and I know everybody's excited with how you finished last year, what you did in free agency, and now what you put together in the draft cut. There's a lot of excitement in Detroit, a lot of expectations, and it'll be fun to be on for the ride. So
it's going to be exciting.
Yeah, thanks for joining me.
Thanks a lot,
you,
Tim. Appreciate you, man.